Greetings from ISEP Study Abroad headquarters in Washington, D.C. It's time for ISEP Live. Thanks so much for being with us today. Today we have a very exciting show for you. We are talking about specifically programs that are of interest to students of international relations or politics majors. So talking about programs that focus on peace, conflict, and security. Again, thanks so much for being with us here today on ISEP Live. We have some really exciting programs to talk to you about today. We're going to start by generally talking about ISEP. What is ISEP? How does it work? What types of programs do we offer? And from there, we're getting into the specifics. We're starting off talking about Universidad del Salvador in Argentina. From there, we'll talk through Toyo University in Japan and finish off talking about Institut d'Etudes Politiques de Rennes. And finally, we will have some time for question and answer. That's the beauty of you being here with us live, is there's lots of opportunities for you to ask questions as you have them. So there's a couple different ways you can do that. The biggest one we want to promote to you is to utilize social media. We're on Twitter regularly. And if you have questions about this show, the best way for us to see them is for you to use the hashtag ISEP Live. So as we go through the show today, if you have questions, definitely send them to us there. Even if you're watching the recording, we're able to still check those and get your questions answered. So without any further ado, let's start talking about our program options here at ISEP. ISEP is a network made up of over 300 universities worldwide. And because we make up this network, there's a couple different program types we offer. The first is an ISEP exchange. On ISEP exchange, you pay your tuition, housing, and meals to your home university. And then another student from a different country pays their tuition to their home university, as well as housing and meals, and you exchange one-to-one. So that's the first type of program. The second is an ISEP Direct program. With ISEP Direct programs, you're able to pay your fees directly to ISEP and customize the offerings depending on programs in terms of tuition, housing, and meals. And from there, we facilitate all the logistics for you. So as we talk about these programs that we're discussing today, that will come back up. So just to keep in mind, those are two different program types. But without any further ado, we'll go ahead and get into our first program. We're really excited to have Rachel here with us today. Rachel is our program officer for Latin America and Canada, and she's talking to us about an exciting program in Argentina. Thanks so much for being here, Rachel.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and get started and talk about our university, Universidad del Salvador, which is located in the capital of the country in Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires is a unique city. It has a dual heritage. It's part European, part Latin American, with trendy neighborhoods, rich culture, and endless places to explore. The Southern Cone has an easy and efficient bus system for you to be able to explore the rest of the country. And Argentina is known for its tango, flavorful and bold wines, and grass-fed beef raised on the Argentine pampas. After studying abroad in Ecuador in the beginning of my undergraduate career, I decided to study abroad in another part of Latin America outside the Andean region. So my senior year, I ended up going to Buenos Aires for a semester to wrap up my Spanish major. And I lived with a host family in Buenos Aires, and I had a really phenomenal experience. I really enjoyed the mix of the two cultures, the Latin American culture mixed with the European culture. And I took classes with local Argentine students, so I got integrated into the culture and had a better understanding of the country. So I have a soft spot for Argentina, to say the least. I met one of my very best friends while I was on my program and living in Argentina. And together we traveled the Southern Cone region, explored museums, markets, and neighborhoods. We also enjoyed eating at our favorite empanada shop, Gourmet, which you guys should totally try because they're really great. And we also had memorable host family experiences and often danced the night away.
Great.
I even know that some of my friends that I met during my program, actually after finishing their studies in the United States, fell in love with Buenos Aires and are living there now.
Wow.
So the academics in this program that I'm highlighting today is for the PIC program, or the Programa Inmersión Cultural. It is designed for students that have lower levels of Spanish, so 0 to 2 semesters of university level Spanish. If you have over 2 semesters of Spanish, you're actually too advanced for this program. So this program is an intensive 3-week course followed by a full-time interdisciplinary semester. So it's 2 parts. And during the semester, you have to take a required language and culture course, as well as 3 electives. And from those electives, you can choose from a number of courses related to society, politics, and culture of Argentina and the Southern Cone region. One of the classes that I noticed when I was looking over what's offered before today, I noticed that they have a sustainable development in Latin America and the world course, which could be very interesting, especially for the international relations majors that are looking at this program. Again, the PIC program is a really great option for those of you with lower Spanish levels that want to take international relations or international politics coursework while strengthening your Spanish skills and being fully immersed in a culture of another country. I would like to mention that it's rare to be able to find programs for individuals with lower levels of Spanish. Out of all the other universities that I work with, specifically in South America, I only have one site that has options for students that have 0 to 2 semesters of Spanish. I also want to mention that in addition to the PIC program, Salvador has other great program options. They have regular university courses that you can enroll in on direct or exchange and take classes with locals to get a feel of what it's like to be an Argentine student. And also, starting this semester, some exciting news. They're going to be offering courses in English. So, as I mentioned, this will be the first time that they're going to be offering courses in English. And there's a variety of courses that you could take, including Latin American political systems, comparative politics, and Argentine history and sociology. For a complete list, you can visit the membership directory page. And that kind of concludes all of the academics that I was going to cover today for Universidad del Salvador.
Great. Did you want to talk us through deadlines well as the direct pricing models? Sure.
So the fall deadline for this program is February 15th, but I still have space. So go ahead and send in your exchange applications. The sooner the better, and I can still consider them for this upcoming fall. The direct deadline is May 1st, and that's going to be for specifically the PIC program and the courses offered in English. The ISEP direct fee is $13,300. For the full year, again, the exchange deadline was February 15th, but you can still submit your applications. The direct deadline is May 1st, and the full year price is $26,050. And last but not least, for spring, if you're planning way ahead, the exchange priority deadline is September 1st, and the direct deadline is November 1st. So please make sure to get your applications in on time. If you have any questions, I'm available to answer them for you.
Great. Thanks so much, Rachel.
Of course.
We do have, again, wanted to remind you of our question and answer toolbar. We've been hearing that there's been some difficulty with the sound and video. So keep us updated there if you're still having trouble seeing or hearing us. As a reminder, this will be posted on YouTube after we finish broadcasting. So if you did miss anything earlier, it will be there for you to access. But while people are thinking about questions, let's talk to you about your experience in Argentina. What was your favorite part of the culture in Argentina or in Latin America in general?
Probably my favorite part about Argentina specifically was the different mix of cultures. So I spent time in Ecuador, and it was a very Andean culture. So to be able to go somewhere else and have kind of a different experience, if I blindfolded you and dropped you off in the middle of Buenos Aires and took your blindfold off, you actually might be surprised to learn that you are in Latin America. One of the cultural things that I liked the most in Latin America and in Argentina is the aspect of family. So family is really important. It's not uncommon for family members to come to the house often or come over several nights of the week. My family in Argentina, I lived with an older couple, and their youngest still lived at home, and on the weekends their older children would come over with their children. So our quiet home turned into this mad chaos of small children running around and food and wine, and it's just a really nice opportunity to be able to spend that quality family time with family members. And for me, it was a change because I'm from a small family, so to be incorporated into that large, strong family connection was definitely something that I wish I had here.
Right. Well, great. Tell us about, maybe with your experience or from what you've heard of students, what opportunities are there to travel around the region with this program?
Definitely. So the Southern Cone region is actually really great for traveling because there's a very efficient bus system, which you can travel around for inexpensive fares via the buses, and they have like different tickets you can buy. So you can do like coach and sit in a chair. You can do coche cama, which is this like first class chair that reclines all the way back, and this little thing that comes out for your feet that you can put up. And then they have the equivalent of like a flight attendant come around and give you snacks while you watch bad 90s movies or music videos. So it makes it really easy to travel. And I bumped over to Chile. I took a 24-hour bus to Santiago. You could also fly. You could also take a ferry over to Uruguay if you wanted to go to some of the cities in Uruguay. A lot of the beaches that the Argentines go to is actually in Uruguay, so it's nice to have the ferry.
Right.
But everything's really accessible if you're willing to, take a little adventure and see where it goes. And again, there's lots of really great things. There's beaches, there's deserts, there's Patagonia, mountains and ice, and lots of different things that you can explore when you're there.
Wow, it sounds like there's a lot of opportunities.
There is a lot of opportunities. It can be distracting, but always focus on your studies.
Well, let's jump back to campus at Universidad del Salvador. What type of support is there that's offered by ISEP?
Well, USEL has been working with ISEP for a really long time. The coordinator there, Maria Soloeta, is really fantastic. She always is very receptive to students. She's very prompt in responses. If there's ever a problem or an issue or concern, they address it immediately. Her coworkers within the office are really great. I've only had pleasant experiences working with them. I actually met Maria when she was here in November for the ISEP conference, and she was very welcoming. And so if you're going to be studying in Salvador, you have one of the best international teams there to assist you.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Rachel. Again, if you do have questions for Rachel or anyone else, feel free to continue to put them into the question and answer toolbar, and we'll get to those here in just a little bit.
Or tweet us.
Yes, or tweet us, #ISEPLive.
#ISEPLive.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thanks, Chris.
Now we're going to jump to Asia. We have our program officer for East Asia, Caroline Holbrook, here to talk to us about another exciting program in Japan.
Yeah, Toyo. So at Toyo University in Tokyo, Japan, this is the heart of Tokyo. This is the heart of the capital, but you're in a really cool neighborhood. It's the Bunkyo neighborhood, and there it's the skyscrapers, but you have the houses in the neighborhoods, but you also have shrines and temples dotted throughout that area. So it's a really interesting take of Tokyo because you have the modern meets the more aesthetic traditional.
Right.
It's a really great neighborhood, and it's very conveniently located, both in terms of transportation and things you can do in the city. So really good experiences there. You can at the university get a language exchange partner. They have a great international community there with several clubs and whatnot to join. We'll go into that later.
Right.
And you can experience the homestay experience they have, where they actually take you outside of Tokyo and they take you to a different prefecture, the Gunma prefecture. And then of course you have all the great excursions, field trips, and activities, from kimono parties, tea ceremony. They have the sumo tournaments there part of the year. So really great experiences.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, that international student community, which we'll go more into with the academics.
Sure.
The academics, there's a wide variety of courses offered in English. In particular to this ISEP Live, they have comparative cultural studies, peace studies, international politics, globalization and culture, even environmental issues in Asian countries. So there are a lot of areas to internationally collaborate with the students, do a little research, work on those projects, and do something that's meaningful to you and your academics.
Right.
The university, Toyo University, prefers students with a 3.0 average GPA, as well as one semester of Japanese study. But when you arrive there on the ground, when you go through orientation, you're going to take a placement test, and that will place you in your actual class and level of Japanese. So they have the means to support students from beginner all the way to advanced in Japanese. Really great program. So let's talk about the deadlines and the costs and everything. With Toyo, they have both exchange and direct. Both of those deadlines are March 15th. You still have time to get those applications in. Really great program. I can't emphasize this enough. And then, of course, you can see the direct program costs there on the page, which can be really affordable depending on your own home tuition. So,
right.
Yeah.
Great. Well, it sounds like an exciting program. What does a typical day for a student at Toyo look like?
It's really exciting because, you get up and you're going to go for some breakfast or whatnot. The housing and dormitories are usually about 15 minutes away from the campus. They're really nice, really updated. You're there with other international students, so you get to have a little tiny commute and experience the trains and the bicycles or just people out in the morning, which is cool. They have a great cafeteria with a lot of different food types there. They have little restaurants and stalls and almost convenience store-like services in the cafeteria area.
Right.
So you could try anything basically and meet up with your friends there for any meal of the day. Of course, you'll go to classes and you'll have all your, gotta remember classes. You'll have your classes, go to the classes. And, because of the location of the university, you really even have time to take a little day trip out into the city. You could go to a temple, a shrine, a museum, just about anything because you're in this really great location.
Right.
And of course, you can go with your friends that you make in either the clubs or the student organizations that you can join there. And Toyo has over 300 student organizations that you can join.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That sounds like there's a lot of opportunities for students.
There's a lot to do, too.
Yeah. You talked about, briefly touched on making friends. How easy would you say it is for students to make friends on this program?
Again, all those student organizations, not just clubs, really offer you a lot of opportunities. The students there are very friendly. They're used to having international students come to join them at Toyo University, and they really want to get to know you, your culture, your society, and get to speak to you both in Japanese and your own home language. So that's really great. You have organizations like the English Community Zone, where you can go and speak in different languages and in English to the Japanese students at Toyo University. As well, again, you have that language exchange partner that you get when you get to Toyo University. So a lot of opportunities to make friends, be involved, and make good memories.
Yeah.
Not to mention the festivals.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. What opportunities are there to experience the broader Japanese culture as part of this program?
Again, there are so many different opportunities to go out on excursions and field trips and even just go see the city itself and around the city. But I really like to talk about the homestay experience. They take you out to Gunma Prefecture, which is this really historical cultural hub of Japan. There's a lot of history that goes on there, and of course they have the onsen, the hot springs. So everybody should try and experience that. That's really great. And you have again all these opportunities to see Japan, both sort of the urban areas and the rural areas.
Right. Great. Well, it sounds like a very exciting program. Again, if you have more questions for Caroline, feel free to ask them as we go. But with that, we will go ahead and jump to our final program. We have Melanie, who is our program officer for France and Belgium here to talk about one of our exchange programs in France. So thanks so much for being with us, Melanie.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here. So today we're going to be talking about IEP to Rennes, which is our site in Rennes, France. So the first thing I want to start out saying about the site is that I really love the city it's in. Rennes is really a university town. The student population there makes up a whole quarter of the population of Rennes, and so it's got that really vibrant feel. And you can rest assured that there will always be things to do and ways to connect with student communities there. Rennes is located in the region of Brittany, which is a really culturally distinct region of France that is influenced by the history of the British Celtic culture. So that makes it a very interesting place to go. The traditional cuisine of Brittany is also very exciting. Brittany is basically the land of butter. So if you are into the iconic French dish crepes, French crepes, Brittany's definitely a great place to go for that. You can, get your fill of crepes there. And Brittany is also a great location if you are interested in doing some traveling in the surrounding regions. If you go just north of Brittany, you have easy access to lots of sites in Normandy, and that includes, like D-Day beaches, Mont Saint-Michel. And if you go just southeast of that area where Rennes is, you have the whole Loire Valley and all the vineyards and chateaux that come with that. So, easy day trips, really great regions to explore. As far as academics, it's important to note that IEP de Rennes is one of the Institut Politiques, d'études politiques, otherwise known as a Sciences Po, and these are very highly regarded schools in France. They are specialized on politics and international relations. So, it's really a great option for a student who wants to focus on those specific academic disciplines. As far as the academic programs that are available to ISEP students, there are two main academic programs at IEP de Rennes. If you have a fairly advanced level of French, you are welcome to do the French program. And in that program, you would be able to choose from IEP de Rennes' wide selection of courses in politics and international relations. And you would actually be taking courses alongside local students. And on the other hand, if you don't have that much of a background in the French language, or you don't feel quite ready to take integrated courses, you could also do their English program. And in that program, you take a set core of courses in topics like French politics or EU member relations. And you take that with a group of international students who are coming from all over the world. So both of these programs also include a French language course that you take to improve your French language skills during your time abroad. So two really great options for ISEP students.
Mm. Did you want to tell us about deadlines and costs for this program?
Sure. So this is a very competitive program. And so that being said, the priority deadline was just a couple days ago for fall and full year students. So right now, the program is closed for fall and full year. But if you're interested in this program, please do reach out to me. The spring semester deadline will be September 1st.
Great. Well, before I ask you a couple questions about this program, I do want to remind all of our viewers to continue to ask your questions in the question and answer toolbar. I also wanted to, again, remind people that we are checking Twitter, so be sure to use hashtag #ISEPLive. But let's talk about France with Melanie. Before we start talking about the question specifically, what would you say drives a student to apply for this program specifically? There are a lot of opportunities in France, so why this program specifically?
Sure. I think that there's a common misconception that that you need to be able to speak French relatively fluently to be able to study abroad in France. And that's not necessarily true. And this site is a great example of that. If you don't have the French language skills to take courses in French, but are still interested in studying the French culture and European politics from an international perspective, this is a great site for that. I also think that, as I mentioned before, the great location and the reputation of the school really does appeal to students.
Right, right. So what are the classes like then?
Yeah, I think as far as academics, this institution is actually a fairly small institution, only about 1,100 students. And I think that makes navigating the academics and connecting with professors and other students a lot less intimidating. And so, the actual composition of the classes will depend on which program you do. So if you do the French program, you probably have more of a sense of the French classroom culture, which I think is a great benefit to doing that program. If you have the French language skills, I highly encourage you to do the French program because I think that's a really, interesting experience and perspective. On the other hand, if you do the English program, it's a very multicultural and international student community. So I think that's also a very important and unique perspective, especially for these fields of study. So, yeah.
Well, tied to this field of study, we have a question from Meg. Meg is asking about internship possibilities for international relations, specifically at this site.
So unfortunately, at this time, to my knowledge, there are not organized internship possibilities through this particular institution. Here at ISEP, we're really trying to develop our internship opportunities for students. So that's something we'll definitely, be looking into in the future. So stay tuned. We're talking with a lot of our members about those opportunities.
Yeah. So tied to that, even though there might not be traditional internship programs, how can a student develop professionally by taking part in this program specifically at Rennes?
Yeah, I think, you can't overemphasize the importance of diversifying your perspective and studying these particular fields of study, political science, international relations, from a international perspective. I think that will really help to nuance your understanding of those fields of study. And I think that's something that's truly valued and recognized by future employers, by professors, graduate schools. So I do think, even the act of living abroad for students who are interested in these fields is very valuable and important.
Right. Well, thanks so much, Melanie, for being here.
Thank you.
That is all the time we have questions for today. But again, wanted to remind you, we do watch our ISEP Live hashtag throughout the week. So if you do have more questions, feel free to ask them there. But to finish off, we did have one reminder for you. You've learned about all these amazing programs, so what's your step from here? If you take a look at the screen, it's kind of a three-piece step for you. To start off, it's time to research programs. So you want to continue to look into these programs, look into the specifics of what we discussed today, and continue to look into more specifics. A great place to do that is ISEP's website. We're at www.isep.org. And another great place to connect with us is on our social media accounts. We're on all the major social media networks at ISEP Study Abroad. So that's a great place to continue to learn about programs, deadlines, ask questions that you might have, and connect with us at ISEP Central in that way. Once you've had a chance to research programs and look at your options, it's time to meet with your ISEP coordinator. An ISEP coordinator is an individual who's on your home campus, who's an expert in all things ISEP. They can help you walk through the application process. They can help you as you're researching programs, find the best option for you, talk through classes and what that might look like. And then from there, it's time to apply. So once you've researched programs and spoken with your ISEP coordinator, you can start the application, which is available again on our website at www.isep.org/apply. Thanks again so much for being with us here today. That's all the time we have today. But next week, we have 2 more ISEP Live shows coming up. So be sure to tune in, and we will see you next week.